Journal Record's 50 most influential women.
It's not what you earn, but what you keep.
White House Conference on Small Business.
It's about education is
The
expensive.
Journal Record's Innovator of the Year.
It's about risk, no gain.
Founder of Women for Financial Independence.
It's about success, sweet success.
A governor's conference for women.
Smart girls finish rich.
She's the president and CEO of Chapelwood Financial.
It's about consistency will always outperform occasional brilliance.
And she is the financial diva.
It's about the money, honey. It's all about the money.
Victoria Woods.
Welcome and good morning to those of you following here live on YouTube Live. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Damon King. I am a certified financial planner and a wealth management specialist with Chapelwood Financial. So thank you so much for joining us again. Live stream of our show, It's All About the Money, Honey. Today we're going to be talking about some of the most frequently asked retirement questions that we receive from our clients, our radio show listeners, people who come to our classes. And if they have those questions, chances are you probably do too. So stick around. Please interact with us. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share us, ask us a question over on the side. You'll be able to ask us a live question and we will respond as soon as I have a moment to do that. So thank you again for watching, and let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the weekend and welcome to It's All About the Money, Honey, the most listened to weekend financial show here on News Radio 1000 KTOK. My name is Damon King. I'm a certified financial planner professional and wealth management specialist with Chapelwood Financial Services in beautiful Edmond, Oklahoma. My cohort in crime, the financial diva, is traveling on business this weekend and she'll be back with us next weekend. Our mission each and every week when you tune into this show is very simple. Same thing we've been doing for years and years and years. In fact, over 15 years. We advise millionaires and aspiring millionaires how to overcome their wealth management fears, frustrations, and challenges so they can live their dreams. Now, at the risk of sounding like I'm fishing for sympathy, I have to tell you that in the course of producing this show, it's tough to write 48 to 50 new episodes of this show every single year. Yes, I know everybody just feels so awful for poor little us out there. But trust me, it can be tough coming up with something new every week. We want to stay topical. We want to make sure that we're staying on top of current events. Recently, we've talked about the coronavirus. Of course, we talked a lot about the trade war with China last year. And we want to make sure that you're learning something new. I mean, we could just recycle the same old stuff day after day, week after week. But we want to expose you to new things, new ideas when it comes to retirement planning. And a lot of it doesn't change. A lot of it is the same from year to year. So a lot of what we do talk about is kind of a repeat. But the reason we do shows like we're going to do today is because we get questions all the time. And sometimes these questions are exactly the same. You know, the same 4 or 5 questions, but they come from multiple clients, multiple listeners of our radio show, multiple attendees at our Rock Your Retirement enrichment courses. So today's show, we're going to be covering some of the most frequently asked questions that we get. Things like, how much money should I save for retirement? That's a big one we get all the time. What should I look for when I am wanting to purchase a long-term insurance policy? There's a lot of mystery surrounding what goes into a long-term care insurance policy. What is the difference between a will and a trust, and which one is better? We're going to ask that question and give you an answer. And then finally, what choices should I make for Social Security and Medicare? Those are 4 of the biggest questions that we get on a pretty regular basis with financial. And if they're asking those questions, well, chances are you've got those questions as well. So let's dive in here. Earlier this month, I was teaching a course to a room full of insurance professionals, And if you've got an insurance license, you won't know that you've got to get a certain number of hours of continuing education, 24 hours of continuing education every 2 years. And so I was teaching this course at Francis Tuttle as part of a continuing education program. And the title of my presentation was The Role of Insurance Plan, or the Role of Insurance in Income Planning. Why do I talk about income planning to a bunch of insurance agents? Well, regardless of what kind of license you are and what kind of financial professional you are, your clients eventually, their clients are eventually going to need income, because income is the most important thing in retirement. Without income, everything else that you want to do is on hold. You can't travel, you can't start a business, you can't do all the things you want to do unless you've got income, whether that's from side businesses, real estate, oil royalties, or distributions from your retirement accounts. So as we were discussing income planning with these insurance agents, somebody asked me one of the most common questions we get, and that is, well, income is great. How much should I save for retirement? I've heard you should save $1 million for retirement. Is that true? Other people started nodding their heads like, yeah, that's exactly what I've heard too. They wanted to hear my answer. So I didn't give them a direct answer. I gave them a story to illustrate it. I'm going to share the story with you. The story is this. Suppose you are going to meet a doctor for the very first time. It's a new primary care physician. And this doctor was referred to you by your friend. And you trust your friend, you like your friend, and you believe that your friend would not give you a poor referral. So you schedule an appointment with this doctor for the first time. And now it's the day of your first meeting. So you go in to the little room there, your name is called, and the doctor comes in. He or she takes a quick look at you, says, exchanges some pleasantries. How are you? How are you? Did you find us okay? Yeah, I did. Okay, well, great. Thanks for coming in. And then starts to kind of eyeball you up and down and just simply says, well, you look like you're doing okay. You feel okay? And you say, well, yeah, I guess I feel okay. All right, well, great. I tell you what I'm going to do. Since you're feeling okay, you look pretty good. You look like most of the people that I see that come into my office. I'm going to go ahead and write you to this prescription. All right, I'm going to give you this medication, this prescription. It's for, a whole bunch of refills. So here you go. Take this prescription to your favorite pharmacy, get it filled, and we'll see you next time. And then they walk out the door and you don't see them again for another year. Now, I asked them after I finished this little story, what's wrong in this story? And of course, it didn't take long for people to say, well, you prescribed medication without knowing what was wrong with the patient. In fact, one guy even said, you never even asked him what was wrong. You never asked, the doctor never asked, why are you here? What's wrong with you? This is exactly what it's like when you ask the question, how much money should I save for retirement? Because you are focused on, when you focus on reaching a target savings amount without first considering whether or not that amount of money will even address your real problem. And your real problem, the reason you're here, is to generate enough income to live the lifestyle you want in retirement. So trying to target $1 million or $2 million or $3 million or $500,000, trying to target a savings amount before you understand what your income need is backward. It's like receiving treatment for an illness that you don't even know what it is. It's like your doctor giving you a prescription for medication without knowing what your real problem is. You give someone the wrong medication, it could be disastrous. The same is true when you tell someone, yeah, just save $1 million and that'll be enough for retirement. That could be disastrous because there are many other considerations that go into deciding how much money should I save for retirement. One of those is, well, how much money do you want to live on in retirement? Because then we know how much income those investments, that nest egg you save, needs to generate. But there are other considerations. Let's say it is $1 million that you need to save. $1 million in Oklahoma, that might go a long way. But if you're going to retire to California, it might not. $1 million for somebody who lives to the age of 75, well, that might be enough. $1 million for somebody who lives to the age of 95 might not be enough. So the key takeaway here is this. The amount of money that you save for retirement should not be some preset, predetermined amount based on, I don't know, just common knowledge or, common belief, popular belief. Rather, the amount of money that you should target to save should be based on how much income you want in retirement, adjusted for inflation and for life expectancy. And then you back into the number, you determine how much savings that will require. That's how you determine how much you should save. How much income do you need to generate in retirement? And income planning is at the heart of our Rock Your Retirement Financial Enrichment course. It's the very first topic we cover on night 1. We just started our February course this past week. We've got night number 2 coming up this next week. It's 4 hours of education spread over 2 nights at the University of Central Oklahoma. We provide the course workbook to you. You follow along, you make notes. Of course, I still get tons of comments from people who say, you know what, these materials are so thorough, I didn't really have to write down a lot of notes. But there is plenty of space for you to do that. The tuition is just $50. That's all the investment is in yourself, $50. And that's good for you and a guest. And all the tuition that we collect is donated back to local charities. So we don't keep the money, we donate it to charities. Last year, the 3 charities that we ended up giving the money to, the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma, and the YWCA. Those were the 3 charities that we donated the money to. Our next course is coming up March 4th and 11th. So you've got just a short amount of time to get enrolled, but we do have seats available. So March 4th and 11th, those are Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. You can go to chapelwood.com, click on Enroll in a Class up at the very top of the page. That'll take you to our site where you can enroll in the March course. Or April. We've got March and April up there right now. When you come to this class, you are going to discover how we use our unique proprietary strategies to help our clients prosper and thrive in retirement. You're going to discover a lot of what you need to know as it relates to income planning, investing, taxes, healthcare planning, estate planning, many of the questions that we're going to discuss in today's show. Our classes are open to anybody, but we have to let you know, just to set expectations, it's going to be most beneficial to you if you're at least 50 years of age and you've saved at least $500,000 for retirement. That's because many of the topics that we're discussing are most impact to those people, people who have saved $500,000. The strategies we discuss are going to be most useful by those people. So go to chapelwood.com, click Enroll in a Class at the top of the page, and you can get enrolled. And if you just can't wait for the class, you need help right now, well, we're obviously here to help you as well. All you have to do is go to chapelwood.com. You can request an appointment. You can request a 30-minute discovery phone call with our Director of Client Services, Shelly. She'll get on the phone with you, ask a few questions, and determine how best we can help you moving forward. So go enroll in a class or request your 30-minute discovery phone call. And you can also call 348-0909 to enroll in a class or request an appointment. You can do both of those things, and Shelly will take your call and get back with you. Now, if you're just joining us, we're discussing some of the most frequently asked questions that we receive from our clients, our listeners, the guests of our Rock Your Retirement Financial Enrichment course. And today, on this episode of It's All About the Money, Honey, here on News Radio 1000 KTOK, the most listened to weekend financial show on KTOK, we are discussing some of those questions. And the reason we're doing it is because we are in the midst of our February client strategy reviews. And we get lots of questions, especially here at the beginning of the year. It's a great time to take stock, get prepared for the year, make any adjustments that we need to make, life changes. We know that. And that's the first thing we ask our clients on the agenda. Has anything changed that we need to know about? And we know that if they are asking these questions, well, you likely have these questions as well. We got a wonderful compliment this past week from a longtime listener of our show, Donna. So thank you so much, Donna, for coming in to see us and for listening to our show for so long. And she said, you know, Damon, I like listening to your show because I like your personalities and the information you share seems so authentic. It doesn't seem like it's pulled out of a textbook. And I said to her, well, thank you so much for that kind compliment. There's a reason why our show sounds so authentic. It's because we share questions and stories that come directly from our experiences with our clients. As they share their fears and frustrations and challenges, we come right on this show and share them with you and how we address those. So these are ripped from the headlines, if you want to call it that, types of questions and problems that we're helping our clients solve. This next frequently asked question is about a retirement planning topic a lot of people don't like to think about, and that is long-term care. We've shared many times this stat. If you make it to the age of 65, you have a 70% probability of needing some type of long-term care before the end of your life. And that might mean a home health aide comes in to help you, get dressed, do some light cooking, some help around the house. It could mean you need full-on nursing care. All right, so it's not saying a 70% probability of going into a nursing home. It's simply saying that you have a 70% probability of needing some kind of long-term care. There's a really great survey out there that Genworth puts on. Genworth is an insurance company, and it's called the Cost of Care Survey, and they update this survey every year. And the most recent one is for 2019. They don't have the Cost of Care 2020 out. The year just started. And you can go out and Google this yourself. But if you look that up, the Genworth Cost of Care Survey for 2019 shows that the average cost for 1 year in a nursing home in a private room in the Oklahoma City area is $89,425. The national average is $100,380. That's a lot of money. $90,000 to $100,000 a year for a nursing home in a private room. Now you can use this little slider to see, okay, well, what is that cost projected to be, say, in the next 10 years? What's the inflation going to look like? In 10 years, those costs are projected to inflate to $120,180 in Oklahoma City and $137,348 nationally. That is huge. That's enormous, an enormous expense if you have to go into a nursing home. Now, granted, that's in a private room, so maybe you get a semi-private room, or, maybe it's not a top-of-the-line nursing home. There are various types of nursing homes, assisted living centers out there, that sort of thing. But the point is, it's projected, it is expensive now, and it's projected to only get more expensive. So you basically have two choices. You're either going to fund this cost, if it happens to you, by yourself from your retirement assets and your cash, or you're going to fund it using long-term care insurance. Your ability to have enough money to live on and possibly leave a legacy to your heirs is largely going to depend upon how well prepared you are to cover likely medical expenses, including long-term care insurance. Which brings us to the frequently asked question that we got this past week from our clients, Danny and Christy. What should I look for in a long-term care insurance policy? And what kind of a cost are we looking at? So if Danny and Christy had this question, you probably have this question, or perhaps you've been thinking about, maybe I should get some long-term care insurance. I thought about doing it 5-10 years ago, and now here I am in my mid-60s, my early 70s, and I'm considering, what would happen if I have to go into a nursing home? How am I going to pay for that? Now, we had our client Aaron who asked the same question. Now, Aaron is very fortunate. He's worked hard. So part of it is just the fact that he's worked hard, he and his wife, but he's also been fortunate. He has made some fortunate real estate investments, various other investments. And of course, we have done a pretty good job of managing his $2.5 million portfolio. So now he has a net worth, a liquid net worth of just over $5 million. So when Aaron asked, well, how would I fund long-term care? I honestly told him, look, you could buy a long-term care insurance policy, but at this point, you have enough assets that you probably are okay to self-insure. All right. You could self-insure this cost, and, you'd probably be able to pay for 3 or 4 years of nursing home care for both of you. It would dip in quite a bit to your nest egg, but by the time that happens, you're probably still going to have quite a bit of money left over. So for him, having $5 million, that was fine. For Danny and Christy, who don't have $5 million, they've got just about $1.5 million. We started looking at long-term care insurance. So when our clients ask us this question, the very first thing we do is, well, we start shopping around. We're an independent investment advisory firm, and that also is true on the insurance side. So we're not aligned with just one insurance company. We have the ability to go out and price multiple insurance policies, whether that's for life insurance, annuities, long-term care. We look for highly rated companies. We only want A+ type companies, A-rated companies that have really strong track records, that have been in business for a long time, that have a great history of customer service and paying out claims, that sort of thing. Next, we considered their budget. How much can they afford to pay in premiums each year? And I prepared them that, you're looking at probably $600, $700, maybe $800 a month, maybe more. It just depends on the bells and whistles you want with your policy. There are some other factors that are going to impact the premium that Danny and Christy are going to pay. Number one, their ages. How old are they? The older you are when you buy the insurance, the more expensive it's going to be. The younger you are, the lower your premium is going to be. Are they a tobacco user? In their case, they are not. They're non-tobacco users. But if you are a tobacco user, typically you can expect to pay a higher premium. What state are you going to be living in when you expect this long-term care episode to occur? Because long-term care costs more in certain states that have higher costs of living than they do in, say, Oklahoma. So that's a consideration. There are some choices that they get to make as it relates to their policy that can either lower or increase their premium. For example, what is the daily benefit amount that they want their policy to pay? And this is how long-term care insurance is typically quoted, at least in terms of the benefit that it pays. It talks about the daily benefit. All right. So for example, $200 daily benefit based on 365 days in a year would pay out $73,000 in benefits per year. The higher the daily benefit that you choose is, well, the higher your premium is going to be. And it makes sense, right? The more you want the insurance company to pay for you on the back end, well, the more they're going to ask you to pay on the front end. All right. Of course, the lower the daily benefit, well, the lower your premium. How long do you want those benefits to be paid out? That's another consideration. There are older policies out there. We've got some clients that have had long-term care policies for 15, 20 years, and they have lifetime benefit payout ranges for life. Okay, so it pays out a certain amount per year, but it pays that out as long as they're living. There's no regard given for how many years this has to happen. I tell those clients, don't get rid of those policies because you would not be able to replace them today, because there are few, if any, insurance companies that are offering lifetime payouts. Typically what you're going to see is, say, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 years. And once the policy pays benefits for that cumulative period, because they don't have to be all consecutive, you might use it for 2 years and then you get better, and then you have to go back in and you use it for another 3 years. But once you've met your lifetime maximum years, well, then the policy won't pay out anymore. All right. Well, obviously, the longer the benefit period that you choose, the higher the premium. So you've got to understand that. The lower the number of years that the policy pays out, the lower your premium is going to be. Now, how do you decide? Well, I will tell you that the average length of stay in a nursing home is about 3 years. Okay. So you'd probably want to look at a payout for at least 3 years. Most typically, we see our clients choose 5 years. That's probably the most common that we see when we look at long-term care insurance policies. Inflation protection is another one. So you want to make sure that when you buy your policy today, whatever that daily benefit today is, well, we've already discussed how the cost of long-term care is expected to go up considerably over the next 10 years. So if you buy a policy today and it pays a $200 daily benefit today, but there's no adjusting for inflation, well, the $73,000 in benefits that it's going to pay, it's not going to be nearly as powerful 10 years in the future. It's going to pay the same amount, but it's going to be a lower percentage of the total, right? Because it's not keeping up with inflation. So you can actually purchase inflation protection. Well, not surprisingly, if you purchase inflation protection, the more you purchase, the higher your premium is going to be. Okay, 3% inflation, 5% inflation, whatever that number is, the higher it is, it's going to raise your premium that you're going to pay. The elimination period. This is the period of time, the waiting period, until the policy starts paying out. So typically you'll see a 90-day elimination period, meaning you must first be in nursing care for 90 days before the policy will start paying out. Now you can have a shorter waiting period. Okay, you can have a longer waiting, but the shorter the waiting period is, the higher your premium is going to be because you're asking the insurance company to pay sooner. And anytime you're asking them to do something for you, they want you to do something for them, meaning pay a higher premium. The longer the waiting period or elimination period, the lower your premium is going to be. Okay, you will be able to choose often, how long do you want to pay that premium? Do you want to pay it for life? So long as you are living and you want to keep that policy, you have to pay that premium month after month or after year. Or do you want to pay it for a set time? Sometimes you'll see this called a 5-pay or a 10-pay, meaning that you'll pay for 5 years, and after 5 years, the policy is considered paid up. Or after 10 years, it's considered paid up. Or maybe even you want to pay a single premium. But obviously, the shorter amount of time that you compress those payments into, the higher that premium is going to be. Lifetime payments are going to be smaller, but obviously you're going to pay them for a longer period of time, typically. So those are just a few, as well as other health planning issues in our Rocky Retirement Financial Enrichment course. We talk about it all the time. It's extremely popular. Our February class is sold out. We just had the first night this past week. Night number 2 is coming up this next week. It's 4 hours of education spread over 2 nights at the University of Central Oklahoma. The tuition is just $50 to attend, and that's good for you and a guest. You get all of our materials, the course workbooks, some of our best materials that we provide to you that you get to take home with you. All the tuition that we collect is donated to local charities. Our next course that you can enroll in is coming up March 4th and 11th. So March 4th and 11th, that's not that far away. And those are Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Go to chapelwood.com, click enroll in a class up at the top of the page, and you can choose to enroll in either the March or the April course. We've got both open right now. Of course, you can push the easy button, as Victoria likes to say, and call 348-0909. That's area code 405-348-0909. And you will be speaking to Shelly Myatt, our Director of Client Services. She can get you enrolled over the phone. Just leave a message, and she will definitely give you a call back and get you enrolled over the phone. This course is really best designed for those of you who are 50 years of age and have at least $500,000 saved for retirement. That's because most of the concepts we discuss are going to make most sense and apply mostly if you've saved at least $500,000 and you are within 10 to 15 years of retirement. All right. But if you're retired already, of course, it's going to make perfect sense for you because you're already in the thick of it, right? You're in the middle of it. So it's going to make a lot of sense for you as well. So again, go to chapelwood.com, click enroll in a class at the top of the page. You can also schedule a 30-minute discovery phone call with Shelly, and she'll get on the phone with you and discuss how we, Chapelwood Financial, might be able to help you. It's time for our quick break, and coming up next, should you get a will or should you get a trust? We're going to discuss the differences between them and why you might choose one over the other. You're listening to It's All About the Money, honey. Come back and see us. All right. Thank you so much for those of you who are watching here on Facebook. We appreciate, not Facebook, bad habits, right? We used to be on Facebook, but here we are on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the Financial Diva channel. All kinds of great content that we put out there, videos that we share, live videos as well as recorded videos. We cover a variety of retirement topics, questions that you probably have that come directly from our clients. So they're not questions we make up just for the sake of it. They're questions our clients ask. And if they're asking them, you probably are too. So hit that subscribe button and hit that like button and the share. So subscribe, like, share. Those are the three things we're asking you to do. And we appreciate you watching. We're going to start with the second half of the show. About the money, honey, the most listened to weekend financial show here on News Radio 1000 KTOK. I'm your host, Damon King. I'm a certified financial planner professional and wealth management specialist with Chapel Wood Financial Services. The financial diva, Victoria Woods, is traveling on business this week. She'll be back with us next weekend. She's in lovely, sunny Florida this week. Our mission each and every week is very simple. We advise millionaires and aspiring millionaires how to overcome their wealth management fears, frustrations, and challenges so they can live their dreams. And if you're just joining us, we have been discussing some of the most frequently asked questions that we get from our clients, listeners to this show, guests in our Rock Your Retirement Financial Enrichment course. And so we get these questions a lot, and we thought, you know what? If they're asking these questions, I bet a lot of our radio show listeners also ask these questions, whether you ask it of your advisor that you have right now, or of your spouse, or of your next door neighbor, the guy you go to church with, your golf buddy, whatever. You're probably asking these questions, particularly if you are in that retirement red zone, that 10 to 15 years before retirement, and you are now beginning to sense that, okay, we got to start figuring out some of this stuff. We've got to start figuring out how are we going to create income from our portfolio. What kind of portfolio should we have as it relates to our investments? Do we have enough cash on hand? Should we pull some money off the table, some of our gains over the last 25, 30 years, and protect them from loss in the market? How do we do that? How are we going to cover healthcare expenses? We just spent quite a bit of time talking about long-term care insurance. Well, this next question is one that came from our client, Jane. And Jane is retired, and we've got her on an income plan, so we're managing her investments. We already have some money protected, so she's taken that step as well. Her house is totally paid off. She doesn't have a house payment anymore. So she's in really good shape. She is in her early 70s, and she's still working. She still enjoys working. She enjoys what she does. She's not slowing down at all. But there was one element of her financial plan that she did not have in place yet, and that was her estate plan. And so she asked the question, what's the difference between a will and a trust, and which one is better? So thank you, Jane, for asking that question. It's a question we get all the time. And for full disclosure, I am not an attorney. Victoria is not an attorney. We do not draft legal documents for our clients. However, as their primary financial advisors, we are pretty well versed in the basics of estate planning, the differences between a will and a trust, the different types of things that should go in the will or the trust. But let's kind of back up a bit and talk first things first. You need to have an estate plan. You need to create an estate plan of your own design. Because I promise you, if you do not take the time to build your own estate plan, then the state that you end up passing away in has one designed for you. And it is not really to your advantage. You can't leave money to charity if you die intestate. That's what dying without a will or any other estate document is called, dying intestate. You can't leave money to charity. There are certain gifts you can't make. There's no guarantee that your final wishes are going to be honored. You're going to leave everything up to a judge, a court, to decide. And it's going to follow the rules the intestacy rules of whatever state you pass away in. So take some time to have an estate plan drafted. Once you have made that decision to create your estate plan, well, your next question is probably going to be, okay, well, what should it look like? And this is largely going to be dependent upon your personal preferences. All right. So let's talk about the different strategies you can choose. Basically speaking, you can go with a will or you can go with a trust. Now, there are all kinds of different variations of these. There are lots of different directions you can go in. I'm going to be speaking about very basic, simple estate planning strategies. All right. Now, let's say you don't choose to have an estate plan. Well, first, we just described that if you don't have one, the state will create one for you. You have no say. You lose all control. If you go with a will, okay, now will, and as with any financial strategy, there are pluses and minuses, all right, advantages and disadvantages with every strategy. Nothing is all good, nothing is all bad, all right, there's always gray area. A will is definitely better than nothing, all right, and a will give you some control. A will allow you to choose where certain assets go. Now, there are some assets that are going to pass by process of law that don't require a will or a trust. These are the accounts you have or the assets you have that have a beneficiary attached to it. Things like life insurance. Those have a beneficiary that are going to go directly to the named beneficiary. In fact, it does not matter if you name an heir in your will or your trust. The beneficiary designation on your life insurance policy, your annuity policies, your retirement accounts, anything that has a named beneficiary will supersede, take precedence over what you have listed in your will or your trust. That's why we always counsel our clients who have gone through a divorce and then subsequently remarry, make sure that your life insurance policy beneficiary is updated. Because if you leave your ex-spouse as the beneficiary and you name your new spouse as the heir in your estate, who do you think is going to get the life insurance? It's going to go to your ex because he or she is still listed as the beneficiary. And that's where the insurance company is going to send the money when you die. So you've got to make sure you keep that updated. Wills are typically very inexpensive. You can, some people will go on like LegalZoom.com and, for $25, you can have a will created. But I do strongly encourage you to at least have an estate planning attorney look it over, because you can make a mistake, even though it might be simple. You might even have a very small estate. And wills are typically a pretty efficient way to go for smaller estates. Okay. A lot of people say, yeah, but a will goes through probate. Well, probate doesn't have to be that bad. Probate has kind of become a dirty word in the estate planning world. A lot of people want to avoid it. And if you want to avoid probate, because it can be time consuming, it can be expensive, if you've named a personal representative or your executor who is a child or some other family member, and they don't really have a lot of experience or skill in doing this, it can be cumbersome for them. Probate can be a cumbersome process. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. So if you are wanting to avoid probate, then a will is probably something you don't want to go with. All right. If you want to keep your private information private, then a will is not something you want to go with, because the probate process uncovers everything. It reveals everything about you. It makes your private information public. All right. But generally, wills are less expensive. They are simpler, typically, to create. In fact, in the state of Oklahoma, a will can be written on a napkin. You can actually handwrite a will on a napkin or any other piece of paper or something like that. It's called a holographic will, and it is allowed in the state of Oklahoma, so long as it passes 4 tests. It's got to be dated. It has to be signed by you. It has to be completely written in your handwriting, okay? And it must be clear that this handwritten will that is signed and dated by you is intended to be your last will and testament. And if a court deems that these 4 things have been passed, well, then a handwritten holographic will is acceptable. It doesn't even have to be notarized or witnessed. In fact, since it all has to be in only your handwriting, a lot of attorneys will say don't get it notarized or witnessed. It's not required, and so you might as well avoid having somebody else's handwriting on it. So, however, I still recommend that even if you have a handwritten will like that, that you get a qualified estate planning attorney to help you. So wills go through probate, but they tend to be simpler and they tend to be less expensive. So if you don't have a lot of stuff, in fact, if you don't really even have a lot of stuff that has to be probated at all, we had one client that had a daughter who passed away recently. She unfortunately had a neurological disease that slowly took away her ability to move. But she did have some retirement assets. She had a couple of little IRAs. She had a 401k. She did have a life insurance policy. Every single one of these assets passed by process of law because of the beneficiaries that were listed. As a result, she had no home, she had no car, she had no other pieces of property that required probate. So in that particular case, it's a small claims court. I mean, it doesn't have to be probated. A will does not necessarily have to be probated if there are no other assets that you are leaving, okay, or no other issues that need to be resolved by the court. But that is what you need to know about a will. Now, what about a trust? Why would you opt for a trust? Well, again, it's a personal decision. A trust, for the most part, is going to avoid probate. That's one reason why a lot of people choose a trust, because they want to avoid probate. Your private information stays private. No one else will know anything about it. That's why a lot of lottery winners are encouraged and counseled by their attorneys and advisors. When you get paid, have that money payable to a trust and name a name that no one's going to assign to you. That way, they'll know the name of the trust, possibly, but they won't be able to get any information about that trust. But a trust is different from a will in that it avoids probate for the most part, keeps your private information private. That's why a lot of people like a trust. And they do tend to be better options for you if you've got a lot of assets, particularly if you've got business interests, you've got real estate, you've got mineral royalties, you've got a lot of different stuff, and you want to have an orderly distribution of those assets. A trust typically will also allow you to exert even more control on those assets from beyond the grave. So even after you've passed away, there are certain powers that you can retain that allow you to control the flow of assets from the trust to your heirs, the flow of income from the trust to your heirs. So typically the most common trusts people will get is what's called a revocable living trust. And the way this works is that during your life, you set up the trust and you fund it. You fund the trust with certain assets like your house, your cars, possibly your business. You can even name your trust the beneficiary of retirement assets, things like that. So long as you are living, revocable living, so long as you are living, you can make changes to the trust. You can revoke the trust. You can make changes to the beneficiaries. You can change the assets that are inside the trust. You retain those powers. If you're a married couple, so long as typically one of you is living, then you retain possession and ownership over those assets, or at least control over those assets. But the assets are typically titled in the name of the trust. Now, things like IRAs, well, those can't be owned by a trust. Those have to be owned by you. But you can make the trust the beneficiary of them. A trust is basically a package that wraps up all of your assets. Now, a trust is typically going to cost you more than a will. All right. A will might cost you a couple $100. A trust might cost you a few $1,000s. It just depends upon the complexity. But it can be a nice, neat package to wrap everything up in. You've got to understand, though, that even if you title a whole bunch of assets in the name of a trust, there might be some other assets you acquire later on in life that are not titled in the name of the trust. In fact, we see a lot of people set up a trust and never fund it. They never retitle assets in the name of the trust. So they spend all this time and money to get the trust set up, and then there are no assets in it, other than those that are made the beneficiary. The trust is made the beneficiary. So as a result, inside of your trust, you might have what's called a pour-over will. my wife and I actually have this provision in our trust. And it's to gather and accumulate any assets that, for whatever reason, are not in the trust, and they go into the will. Well, that will, just like with any will, could go through probate. So even setting up the trust, you want to avoid probate, but if you've got the pour over will and you've got assets that go into it, that pour over will could go through probate. So again, the choice of whether you get a will or a trust is very personal. It really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't care about the probate process, you've got a small estate, and you just want the simplest, least expensive option, then a will is the way to go. But if you have a lot of stuff and you want to avoid probate at all costs, you want to keep your private information private, you're willing to spend a little bit more money to have a more complex estate vehicle set up because you've got all this stuff and you want to exert more control, have more power over those assets, well, then a trust could be the way to go. And we discuss the difference between wills and trusts in our Rocky Retirement Financial Enrichment course. We've been talking about it for years now. It's 4 hours of education spread over 2 nights at the University of Central Oklahoma. Our next course is coming up March 4th and 11th. Those are Wednesday evenings, March 4th and 11th from 6:30 to 8:30. The investment, the tuition is just $50, and that $50 is good for you and a guest. So it could be your spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a coworker that you both are facing retirement and you want to know the answers to your burning money questions. We talk about all of this stuff: income planning, healthcare, taxes, estate planning, investments. Those are the 5 key things we talk about in this class. So you can go to chapelwood.com, click enroll in a class up at the top of the page, and you can choose the March or the April course. We're enrolling for both. But March 4th and 11th is your next opportunity. So go online, get enrolled, because February sold out. March is probably going to sell out too. Our classes sell out pretty quickly. So avoid the rush, get enrolled now, and I look forward to seeing you March 4th and 11th in Rock Your Retirement. And I encourage you, bring your questions with you, because I'll answer them right there in the class. If you're just joining us, you're listening to It's All About the Money, Honey, here on News Radio 1000, KTOK, the most listened to weekend financial show on KTOK. My name is Damon King. I'm a certified financial planner professional, wealth management specialist with Chapelwood Financial Services. The financial diva Victoria Woods, my co-host, is away on business this weekend. And we do this show for one reason and one reason only, so that we can help millionaires and aspiring millionaires overcome their wealth management fears, frustrations, and challenges so that they can live their retirement dreams. That's the whole reason we do this show, and the whole reason you listen. And we get so many comments from our listeners every week about how much they enjoy the show, all the great information. It's not boring. You know, we try to have a good time. We like to laugh on this show. It's hard to laugh by yourself. I'd look kind of like an idiot if I'm just sitting here laughing by myself. But when Victoria's here, we have a good time. And hopefully you're having a good time too. We've been talking all show long about some of the most frequently asked questions we get from our clients, our radio show listeners, people who watch our YouTube videos. You follow us on YouTube Live, or you subscribe to our channel. And I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, the Financial Diva channel. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get all of our content, our great video content. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. It's All About the Money, Honey. You get all of our podcasts uploaded to your Apple device every week. But we've been talking about these frequently asked questions that we get. We've had quarterly strategy reviews, and we've been getting tons of questions from our clients. Questions about how much money should I save so that I can make sure I don't run out of money. We answered that question earlier in the show. We talked about long-term care insurance. That's a big question we get from clients. You know, what is long-term care insurance? What does it look like? And if I buy it, what are some of the things that I need to pay attention to? We just finished talking about what's the difference between a will and a trust, and how do I know which one I want? This last thing we're going to talk about is probably, if not the biggest question we get, it is definitely probably number 2. And I've saved the best for last. And that is, what are my options, or what should I choose as it relates to Social Security and Medicare? And this question came from a couple of clients this week, but specifically I'll talk about Becky, our client. Now, Becky doesn't come in for a review all that often, maybe once a year. We manage her investments, but she's still working, Retirement is still a few years away, and so it's not something that she really worries a lot about. But Becky reached a milestone this year in that she turned 65. And 65 is the age at which you qualify to enroll in Medicare. So the whole reason she called, she didn't even care about looking at her investments. The whole reason she called was because she wanted to know, what should I do about Medicare? And all these phone calls I'm getting and all this mail I'm getting about Medicare this and Medicare that. And while we're at it, what should I do about Social Security? So let's talk about these. So let's address Social Security first. Social Security is going to account for the average retiree about 40% of your retirement income. So it is a big deal. It's a big, important part of your retirement income plan. So you need to know what your options are and how to make a good choice. You are first eligible, generally speaking, most people are first eligible to enroll in Social Security at the age of 62. The latest that you can delay enrolling in Social Security is 70. And so there's a range there from 62 to 70 that you can enroll in Social Security. The question is, when? Because depending on when you enroll in Social Security, at 62, your full retirement age, which is going to be 66 or 67, or 70, depending upon when you enroll, that is going to impact the amount of your benefit, the amount of the check that you receive every month. When you get your little Social Security statement in the mail or online, typically they are quoting an amount for you that's your full retirement age. And if that's 66 or 67, that's what they're quoting you. If you claim at 62 or any year earlier than your full retirement age, your benefit's going to be reduced by about 6% per year, okay? 6%, a little over 6%. So that if your full retirement age is 66, let's say, and you claim Social Security at age 62, you're going to take about a 25% reduction in your benefit. Now, that's going to be offset by the fact that you're going to get checks earlier and possibly for a longer period. However, there are points at which claiming at 62 and claiming at your full retirement age equal each other. We call it a break-even point. And there's an age that you can reach at which those numbers are equal, and then claiming at 66, your full retirement age actually gives you more cumulative lifetime money. And right now, that break-even point for people whose full retirement age is 66, it's somewhere around 73, 74, maybe 75 years old. So that if you think you're going to live that long, then claiming at 66 might be better than claiming at 62 because you'll get more lifetime income. However, if you think you're going to have a shorter life expectancy, maybe people in your family don't live much past the age of 70, well, then claiming at 62 might be the way to go. Of course, if you need the income and you're 62 and you've retired and you just need the income, well, then claiming Social Security could be a great strategy, a good thing to do, even if you're going to take a reduced benefit because you need the income. And again, in retirement, cash flow is king. Cash flow is most important. So we need to take a look at that. Alternatively, there are reasons why you might delay your Social Security. And you'll also have an option for Becky, for example. She had an option of claiming Social Security on her benefit or her divorced spouse's benefit. She's divorced. She's never remarried. So she is actually eligible to take the spousal benefit off of her ex-husband's benefit. And that might actually be the better option for her. So she also had questions about Medicare. I'm 65 now. What should I do? Generally speaking, when you turn 65, you are in your initial enrollment period for Medicare. And it's a 7-month window, 3 months before the month of your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and 3 months after. Becky turned 65 in April. So 3 months before April is January, February, March, the month of April, and then 3 months after that, May, June, July. So she's in her initial window right now. Ordinarily, if she did not enroll in that initial window, later on when she does enroll, particularly in Part B and D of Medicare, which is the doctor coverage and the prescription drug coverage, respectively, she would be penalized in the form of a higher premium. However, I informed Becky that she actually qualifies under an exemption or a special enrollment period. If you are currently working and you have health insurance through your employer and it's tied to current employment, you can actually delay enrolling in Part B and Part D until you lose that health coverage. It's very important to note that if you retire, let's say, and you continue your health insurance, there's a retiree benefit. That does not count. That does not exempt you from enrolling in Medicare. So the phone calls and all the information that she's getting about that has to do with Medicare. And a lot of this is calls from insurance companies wanting to sell her a Medicare prescription drug plan, maybe wanting to sell her a Medicare supplement, or possibly even wanting to sell her a Medicare Advantage plan. It would take a lot more time to discuss all the differences between that, but we do discuss that, the differences between original Medicare and Medicare Advantage and all the different options and choices you have. We discuss that in our Rocky Retirement Financial Enrichment course. It's 2 hours of education spread over, or 4 hours of education spread over 2 nights at the University of Central Oklahoma. Our next course is coming up March 4th and 11th. Those are Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30. You can go to chapelwood.com, click enroll in a class up at the top of the page, and we'll make sure you get enrolled in either March or April. Choose which one you want. But in that course, you're going to get all of our materials, our 130-page course workbook. We're going to talk about income planning, investment planning, healthcare planning, tax planning, and estate planning. Those are the 5 core areas that we discuss in our class. And I'm confident that you're going to leave that class with a lot more knowledge, a lot more insight and education on the different pieces of retirement that right now you probably have a lot of questions about. And so if you have at least $500,000 saved for retirement, and if you're at least 50 years old, this class is really going to be most beneficial for you. It's open to anybody that wants to learn. But a lot of the concepts we discuss are going to make more sense to you if you're closer to retirement and you've saved at least $500,000 for retirement. So I look forward to seeing you in class. And that's our time for today. I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you for making us the most listened to weekend financial show here on KTOK. And I'm going to leave you with the Financial Diva's very best advice. Don't take advice from broke people, physically, financially, or spiritually. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's a wrap for our show today. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you watching. Please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and give us a thumbs up and share us. Share us with your friends and family. We want to try to get our subscribers up. So that's the 3 things I'm asking today. Subscribe, like, and share. You'll get notifications of all of our great content, our great videos that we upload. You can see all of our other videos there on the Financial Diva channel. And we put out content pretty frequently. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.